Hey guys, this is Rainwolf, and we are back with 86 episode 4, and Asuna's back with us.
Hey guys, Kirijo Silverheart here.
And Asuna Silverheart.
Welcome back, sweetie.
Thank you.
So, this episode starts off pretty funny. Shit is just laying back, and he has Fido citing the documents for him.
Best thing ever. Not gonna lie. Love it. Love every minute of it.
Then Raiden shows up, it's like, did you even read those? It's like, I don't care. Then they talk, bringing up the prototypes after. It's like, oh, they're prototypes, aren't they? It's like, we took some heavy hits yesterday. And it's glad to see them crawling back together.
Yeah, it's nice to start seeing the squad back together after, a couple episodes of them being kind of split up and us only really seeing things from Shin's point of view.
Yeah. Now there's in a conference, pretty much it's all the commanders and officers. They're having a discussion about what's about to come, this large-scale Legion attack. And then their officer or general technically speaks up on their behalf. Or in her half of like, I would like my unit back.
Yeah, but do you think she's doing it because, she really wants, the 86 back together? Or do you think there might be another purpose?
I have a really mixed thing with her right now because I can't really tell what she's really thinking. And the way things are presented here, I think she kind of wants them back together because with them, I think that she knows that even though they're separated, they'll do very good, but together, there'd be more of a damage put into the Legion.
Yeah, they're almost an unstoppable force together.
Yeah, because she even brings up the numbers. There's no exact numbers we are told, but she's like, the amount of Legion that have been killed by themselves, being separated like this, but now putting them together. Now we have... Shoot.
Brynholt?
Yes. So they're going through this hallway, the reports, and Shin, he makes the comments like, you're the youngest, is like, and then comes up again on, it's like, you don't have to feel like you need to help fight with us for being as young as you are. And they're just walking by, you see all the corpses being unloaded from the truck, and then Shin has a flashback.
Yeah, back to Eugene.
And now Federica is coming up with just a shirt. And she runs into Shin, and it actually calls her by her knight's name instead of his actual name.
Yeah, she says Kiri instead of Shin, or as she tends to call him, Shine.
And it's even more funny at this moment because as she rubs her eye, tries to walk past him, he grabs her by the scruff of her back of her shirt, lifts her, and then all you hear is Anju, and into the sky.
Just yeet.
And she tells Anju or Theo to go get a uniform.
He starts I just got here.
Then brought up as like he got more presents. He's like, I don't care about these. Just throw them out.
Brynholt has kind of a cute moment here with Shin regarding keeping things in order and following policy and procedure. And I like the, for lack of a better term, shit-eating grin that he gives. And he's just like, well, that's the end of the report. And as per procedure, just sign here.
I like how he told him too. He was like, we can't send the gift back or get rid of them. That's not protocol. And there's like teddy bears and flowers. Yeah, it was like just a bunch of teddy bears and flowers and stuff, which I just didn't understand why he just didn't give them to Frederica, because I think she'd be super down with that. So, but he's trying not to encourage the child, so.
That's more than likely what it is. So now she's hating herself while they're in the cafeteria. And her forehead is red from how hard she's been bashing her head against the table.
She's embarrassed to all hell is what it is. But I do love the fact that, they're all sitting there talking, and Raiden speaks up, and he was just like, well, maybe she can walk around half asleep and half naked. And she was like, who the hell told you?
What do you think? He's technically the second in command. Why wouldn't he know?
Well, used to be the second in command.
Yeah, but I still think
they have a whole new ranking dynamic when it comes to the Federation, but as far as the group goes, yeah, he's still number 2.
I think it's just gossip.
There is that too, because there was that one soldier that walked by them in the hall.
And just to save Wolf here a little bit of embarrassment, Karina then shows up in the mess hall and shouts over to the group, and she kind of has this like flabbergasted look on her face, like, why isn't anybody waving back to me? Because they're all still in the middle of giving Federica a bunch of crap.
Mm-hmm.
And she sits down, and one of them makes the comment about, I think it was Theo, makes the comment about her walking around in just half naked in just a shirt. And Karina jumps up and was just like, "You were half naked?" And Theo's like, "Oh yeah, it's a funny story." And Frederica jumps up and is like, "Don't you tell her too."
Yeah, she'll find out eventually.
Oh yeah.
And then this is where it comes up after all this that, okay, we're going back to base now. And this is where we get the welcome card for welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny how Shin has to help Frederica out of the truck.
It's cute.
She's like a toddler. And when the general or when the commander speaks to him and asks him, I was like, how are the new units?
The Reagan Leaf.
Yeah. They're still the body coffins, but slightly better than the... And then she's like, what?
Oh yeah, like the look of just shock and... I mean,
She
the whole
was offended.
WTF... Oh yeah, I mean, this was a massive WTF moment for her, because she was just like, so wait, you're telling me I spent all this time and all these years researching the Juggernauts just to make one that was slightly better?
And it's like, oh, they're fast, but also very precise. They're hardly more
That's all, folks.
Maneuverable.
Yes, that
highly
word.
maneuverable.
But I also think I think the slightly better also comes in on that they're more durable, because Shin is able to pull these stunts that would break the Republic's Juggernauts.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, like we saw just in the combat scene before Eugene dies.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he is ripping and tearing with just the blade. And those kind of theatrics and stunts used to cost him blades, legs, you know, all kinds of things. So at least there's a little bit more durability to them.
Mm-hmm. And there's also the whole comedic relief of when Shin is calling them Juggernauts, and then the commander is calling them the Reagan Leaf.
I'm not gonna lie, I LOL'd.
It's like, you're not gonna... pretty much, Shin's like, you're not gonna win this.
Mm-hmm. And again, Shin's just completely deadpan.
And she gives up. She's just like, okay, fine, whatever.
And we find out why she made the Reagan Leaf as well, that only if they were faster, because come to find out, when she became a soldier, she was around their age.
Yeah, 10 years ago, she said, when everything had started, she was their age. And yeah, a lot of her friends died. And she just kept thinking, if the old units had been faster, maybe it could have helped them.
Yeah, they've come a long way, because looking at the units they have now, not the new Juggernauts, but the other units, the big bulky ones. Yeah, I would have hated to see how slow they were in the beginning.
I'm still curious though, because like right before this happened, you know, they had the meeting, and I'm still curious about because they kept saying she was trying to get her position back, and I'm wondering what she did to lose position, first off, and for two, just why, like, what's going on with that, like, what's that whole deal, and is it true, like, is she really just trying to get her old position back by trying to make better machines, or if she's actually really concerned. I want to think she's sincere and she seems level, but like, you really don't know, because nothing's as it seems in this anime at all. So I'm curious though, really curious of what she's done, that she lost a higher position and that she's been demoted. So I wonder if they'll share that with us eventually, I'm sure.
And we find out about the other kingdoms, in the best way to put this.
Yeah, the other provinces and nations.
So we have the United Kingdom of Ron Garcia. I think that's how that's... And the Alliance of Wald. They are both, one's in the north, one's in the south. And they've heard, it's like, oh, we've managed to build defense lines and maintain an area they could survive in. And Karina gets the whole... It's like, who are these people? It's like, we learned them in officer class. And Sanguinolia is still not answering to their message. And then they all look towards each other.
So there was a couple different emotions they had during that. There was a couple different feelings, like you could tell. There was one, I think, a little bit of concern on some of their faces. There was also, too, a little bit of like, well, on some of them, it kind of looked like they were like, well, that's not surprising, because, you know, obviously they are doing what they're doing, and they don't want to be found out. And yeah, and then there was also, I think there was a little bit of surprise and kind of like concern and a couple other emotions just because they're wondering about.
Because there's one person, yep.
Yeah, what's happened.
Yeah, there's most likely a concern that San Magnolia has fallen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or they're just being ignored. But the whole thing is, if the weird thing is, it's like everybody may be ignoring them, but what if this is maybe a little foreshadowing? I don't know, because I haven't read anything, and I haven't, even the tiny research I did back in season 1. What if Lena finds that message?
See, that's a thought I had too. Like, what if she stumbles upon it, or what if it did fall, but what if she made it out? That's the other thought I had too. What if it has fallen for some reason? We know that the 86, they were getting low on people.
Yeah.
Because, the population was not recreating itself. People were dying young. They had children fighting. So it's kind of like, what if it did finally just collapse and she's out there, but she's alive somehow? And she's, or like you said, what if she does find it? It's a very real possibility because we know she does things she's not supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we know she goes places and looks into things that she's not supposed to look into and find out. So I'm curious. There's a good possibility she could. And if she hears it or finds it or sees it, I'm sure she would say something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious of what will happen there if that were to come about.
So now we come to find out also that things are getting broken down, squadrons are getting merged together, and that she's actually going to be the commander for their unit.
Yeah, complete restructure for the upcoming assault, and the 86 will be directly under her still, but they will also be under another unit.
But from what I'm looking at the chart, it's probably not too many people above them.
No, from what it sounds like
it's just her and then headquarters.
Nordlich is actually being fused into this other unit, and then she's taking over that unit.
Yeah, so there's not too many heads above them. I can only imagine how that would go, definitely with this particular unit, if too many people involved. Did anyone else notice I know it pans over, but it's like, during this whole conversation, definitely when they bring up San Magnolia again, Raiden looks over to Shin, just a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's just mostly out of, trying to see what kind of reaction Shin has.
Oh, wait, no, it wasn't the San Magnolia, it was the, where she brings up the report that he sent, and he brought up the whole large Legion attack coming.
Oh, yeah. For that, well, we find out later why. Anybody that's been watching 86 up to this point knows that Shin has that special ability where he can hear the voices of the Legion, the processors that were taken from the battlefield and turned into Legion processing consciousness.
Yep.
Which is how Shin's always had the edge on the Legion. He knows when they're coming, where they're coming from. He can get a fairly accurate guess on how many units are coming that way.
And something we kind of skipped over a little bit when they were in the mess hall, when Andrew brings up the point, because if you notice, she kind of pouts at this moment. It's like, why do we have to go on patrol? We really don't need to.
Oh yeah, they even call it out and says it's pointless. Which I took that in two ways actually. It's number one, they all know that Shin can tell when they're coming and where they're coming from. But number two, these were a group of kids that before joining in with the Federation of Jihad, they were out on their own for several months after leaving the Republic of San Magnolia. And they saw just how many units were patrolling the area and things. I mean, if they were a patrol squadron, it wouldn't do jack diddly to have them as a patrol squadron. Just because, yeah, they could engage and take out as many as they could, but there'd still be an overwhelming force because those Legion patrols, they come in hordes.
They do. And the Juggernauts, original Juggernauts, they weren't that great to begin with. The ones they have, they may be better, and they probably take out a couple more than they would originally. They still wouldn't win.
Yeah.
So after the whole discussion about the report, she actually finds it interesting, but brings up that, our analysis and everything, they haven't found anything to really back this up. But she still kind of, goes on it. Like, she wants to prepare even with that information she was given. Kind of like in Lena's state as well, with knowing it, but with nothing to truly back it up. So after the whole meeting they have, Federica walks up, she knocks on the door, we find out it's Shin's room, and he scares her again because he's like, you need to quit your hobby of complete silent walking, or ninja walking.
Again, cute moment.
Then she jokes him about his room. It's like, it's so bland. You need to put some stuff in here. At least Theo has some art on his wall.
She also mentions Eugene.
Mm-hmm.
she also mentions him, and she said, he had pictures of his sister, and you find out that she actually, because they're shorthanded, she actually ended up helping clean out his room.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was kind of sad.
That was really sad. But, it kind of was like, and it was kind of a slight at him. She was kind of like, even, he had something to fight for. What are you fighting for? Almost in a way. Like, it's with Frederica, everything's very subtle. Sometimes, well, no, I won't say that. She's pretty loud. But sometimes she'll slide in subtle things. Like, you'll see her, and that's kind of what it was. It was kind of like, what's your reason?
Yeah. And Shin ends up bringing her, like, you shouldn't be going through people's things. Then we end up hearing the backstory of pretty much her and Kiria.
Kiria.
I think that Kiria. But she normally shortened it, but this time she actually says his whole name. And we come to find out he actually went mad.
Well, and this was the information that I was waiting on to be released, because this was some of the stuff that I knew from reading and research, was that Kiria was a Nozen, just like Shin.
He was also 4 years older than her. So she's, 12? 13? Yeah. She's a baby. She's pretty young, and let's see, the war's been going on for 10 years. Didn't we do the math one day? It was like 10 years. She was like 3?
Yeah.
Something like that.
And I remember, so I mean, in the end, even though she was like, well, I said that, they should do this, I really don't feel, and in history, we'll be honest, with child rulers, there's always somebody pulling the puppet strings.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that wasn't a decision that she was solely a part of, though she feels a heavy guilt for it. She was a very young child. So this boy, if you think about it, when all this was going down, at most he was sick, and then he
to clarify,
yeah.
She says that Kiria was 4 years older than Shin is now.
Okay, so he was like in his early
like
20s?
18, 19, maybe 20 at the latest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
She says he was 4 years older than you.
Okay. So, and that would have been at the beginning of the war. That would make more sense. I was very confused.
Yeah, no. He was in his mid to late teens, and she was itty bitty.
She was a baby.
Yeah. So during this whole conversation, when she's explaining their backstory, that when it pans over the window and that light starts that first time the red light comes into play, I'm like, oh god, what's about to happen?
Yeah, what the hell was that?
I think it was just a light that's inside it's just a military
it's probably a light.
Yeah.
Well, more than with the way it's flashing, it's probably for a radio tower or something for the planes, so they don't run into it.
I was thinking maybe just like a floodlight or something.
But it only comes on during her backstory talk, and it goes away.
I think they did it just to make an eerie.
Do you think maybe it was them trying to communicate with somebody? Like they were trying to talk to one of the other territories, and it was like a radio tower, and they were sending out the message, and that's why it was beeping, and then it stopped.
Or it only triggers when there's planes in a certain distance.
Yeah.
And this happened to be that moment.
I mean, it could have been just an art direction choice, but I feel like there's something we're going to find out about it.
I think it was more of a direction choice to kind of give the moment more of a dreary
feel.
Yeah, because it doesn't start until she starts talking about the people started rebelling, and the Legion was supposed to protect us, but we had to use human soldiers instead.
Yeah, and then we come to find out also.
The Legion, wasn't reliable.
Well, they don't fight well. Well, they can't fight with humans.
Yeah, they don't fight well with humans. Yeah, they don't. They can't coexist. I guess would be the word.
Well, it's kind of like they didn't have a friend or foe identifier.
Yeah, they didn't seem to have like a major kill switch is the problem. Like it seems like they didn't have that master.
Someone did a little flaw in their coding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody messed up something somewhere, or if they have a kill switch, we don't know where it's at. We'd have to hunt for it.
Well, even if they know where it's at, getting to it was probably going to be a whole different story.
I mean, this is a very interesting topic. It brings you up into AI, artificial intelligence. How consciously aware are they? And how much are they, self-preservation kicks in for anybody, for a normal person. So is that going to kick in for AI? It's the same concept.
Yeah.
But back to her story. But yeah, she was talking about how he slowly went mad. And I'm wondering, because he was a Nozen, that was something I was curious about too. Did he have some similar powers to like what Shin had? Could because she said he started to go mad as his friends started to die off, as the other knights started to die off.
I wonder if he did have it in the voices that he was starting to hear from the Legion.
Yeah, the legions, his friends that were dying.
Pretty much the Black Sheep.
The people he had to kill because they were trying to infiltrate. He saw a lot of death.
My guess is a lot of death, plus, because since we know he's a Nozen, the probability of having the ability to hear the voices and the Black Sheep that started to form because of all the killing, those voices started to go into his head, and he didn't have a strong will or a strong mentality enough to fight them off like Shin does.
Yeah. He didn't build that up. Because the way she talks about him, he was still very, he played with her. He was still he was a young guy. He was just a young kid. And so he's not quite like Shin, where Shin's just built that wall already. He's already become numb to it.
We've also seen throughout the first season, when Shin was in the heart of combat, he snapped.
Yeah.
There were times that he was a psychotic SOB.
Yeah, very true, because even during that, going to the hangar the first time, there was that first time we actually see him crack a smile.
Yeah, and that wasn't his usual, coy little smile. That was his bug nut psychotic side. It's literally going from, Bruce Wayne to the Joker.
I mean, we've seen it, though. We've been in his head, too. We've seen the things he's seen. So, I mean, it's not surprising. I think there's probably also that fear for Shin that eventually he will crack from it. And, I mean, if you see enough of it, it's possible.
So, and we find out how she actually escaped the castle or her home or the mansion that she was staying at when she was younger, where the rebellion, Ernest, had found her. But to prove that she was dead or to fake her death, it was pretty much the burnt cloak or cowl that they wore to prove their...
It was the mantle of the imperial royalty. It was basically her crown and her cloak. And upon seeing that, Kiryu completely 100% lost it, because his whole purpose at that point in life was to protect her.
Mm-hmm.
And he was already on the verge of a psychotic break. He was losing it, and the minute he finds out that he failed his charge, complete snap, complete mental break.
Also, that she remembers how easily people can die, but also she brings up to Shin that saving Kiryu isn't worth your or the other's death.
Yeah, she feels responsible,
because she doesn't want the people she knows to die.
Yeah, and I mean, I think she already feels like she's caused a lot of death, and I think that the thing that got me the most was she said, when she was talking about it and she looked at Shin almost, it was like he knew what she was asking, and he was just like, he without hesitation was like, I know, yes, he would take care of it. That's that Reaper mentality he has in him, that he'll put, I'll put this guy out of his suffer, I'll take care of the situation, I'll do like I had to do for my brother, I won't let them live that way. But then, like she said, if you have to run, she was like, don't stay, don't fight, don't risk your life, because I don't think she can stand the thought of losing him. It's him, yeah. And Frederica, I think she has this,
deep down she knows.
I think she knows that, yeah. But she's also, I mean, she does kind of look at him like a brother.
Yeah. So getting near the end of where their conversation goes, it's like, what are you gonna do your next leave? Well, someday anything like that you will do. Then you see a laughing, quiet smile. He's like, "What's so funny?" No, someone said that same thing to me. And
yeah,
this is kind of bringing more of the canon ship going on.
Well, and not even just that. He really hasn't thought about the future, but that's something we addressed earlier when, he was asked that question the first time. He doesn't have the grasp of the future. And I think that there's that little, I think that brings back a good memory for him, because that was one of the first times I think he's thought about having a future in a long time. And then it's brought up again. And he's just like, it's more possible even now than it was then.
And she even says, it's like, that person was probably disappointed. It's like, maybe so.
Not wrong.
Gotta get that jab in there.
So now it walks out. Shin walks out. Oh, now we see Raiden. He has this look of like, what's this? And then he pans over to Shin holding Federica out cold. She likes you, big brother. He even calls it out.
Yeah. And he mentions that I think I remind her of the night is what it is. That night that she knew.
And she's the same as the old me.
Yeah.
And Raiden was like, I don't know about that. Then he just takes her, throws her over his shoulder, calls
and then radios for Karina to come and get her.
Come get the princess.
I was like, at least Shin was like being the princess carry. Raiden was like, yeah.
I just haul this kid
Another
off.
sack of potatoes.
Raiden carried her like a father carries their kid usually after they've had enough of their shit. Like, tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, as a father, I will completely back you up on that. Like you start off, carrying like Shin did, and then it just gets to the point where you're just like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm done with this. I'm just gonna take you to your room or pass you off to somebody else to do it, and just over the shoulder, just get it done.
So after this, the pan's over. They pretty much go. They're in the hangar now, where they see all the units. And Raiden brings up to Shin and is like, "You gave him a warning, when we got here, didn't I told you that we come here, keep that power as yours a secret?" And I can see where he's coming from because they are a researching type of country, and they are the ones that kind of formed the Legion.
Yeah, I mean, they had already taken, their personal belongings to have them examined. They took the Pararaid off their ears to have it examined. God only knows, like, what information they tried to pull from the Juggernauts after they found those before they made the monument.
Yeah, and they even said, it's like, they don't even see us as equals.
He's greatly concerned. Raiden is very concerned for Shin because unlike Sam Magnolia, who needed Shin to fight, and they were like, oh, we'll eventually take his brain, or we'll take his head once he dies. Yeah. These people don't need, they have an army. They need him to fight, but then they also kind of, they have more army. At first, they weren't even going to put the 86 back on the battlefield. So they have enough military strength, at least, that they don't have to have them fighting. So it's a very real possibility they could take him and experiment on him. And Raiden does have a real fear, and that's understandable. You don't trust the government.
Yeah.
Like in situations
he even says,
like
I don't even want to be a hostage.
Yeah, it's understandable.
And this is where Raiden also brings up something, but are you okay? And from Shin, like, you're not thinking of anything you don't need to be, are you? Is it what Ernest said bothering you? The future? Federica told me to think about it. He throws it off on Federica.
Well, but I mean, honestly, it's one of those things of when the conversation gets brought up, he thinks about it for, maybe a minute, and then he shrugs it off again and just goes back to doing his normal thing. He doesn't dwell on the future. If anything, Shin's one of those characters who spent most of his life dwelling on the past.
Yeah.
And living for the now, having to live for the current moment, because if he doesn't live for the current moment, he dies. He has to be in that moment so that he is prepared and ready to fight.
Yeah, Shin's idea of thinking about the future is strategizing his next move for an assault or planning for the next fight he's going to be in.
Yeah.
I like what Raiden says about it. He was like, it'll all work out. It can't be harder than fighting the Legion. Like, Raiden's just so go with the flow about everything, and just
it's sad to say,
it'll be fine.
I see that because that's exactly how I am. Yeah. It's like, we'll just go with one step at a time. I don't care. It's like, if something happens, something happens. But and what's said near the end of the conversation, and funny thing or interesting thing or however you want to take this moment, this is not the first time this has been said through this season. It was always about this time of day, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And they even say this. You think the Major's doing okay? Yeah. And then Raiden takes a look to Shin, but he has the sharp eyes while doing it.
He gives him side eye, and I am a professional side eye giver, and so I can
accurate.
I can read this as he's concerned and he's curious and he's wondering what he's thinking and wondering what he's feeling emotionally, and then he does the sigh where he's just like, I'm not getting anything out of this kid.
No, but we don't know what kind of facial expression Shin was having when that was brought up.
We don't know either. I think Raiden was trying to gauge it, and I think he was having normal resting Shin face is what I'm going to call it. Where it's just like, and that was something that actually Frederica brought up too, where she was talking about her knight, like when he would it's like when he would kill people, he suddenly like had this odd, calm, almost happy look on his face. That weird look Shin gets sometimes. So yeah, I'm curious, but yeah, that wasn't angry side eye, that was concerned side eye. I know the difference. So.
Well, because now he's seeing Shin think of his future when he's never done this before.
There's a couple of things here artistically too that I thought were interesting. it was playing out at the end, and things we saw
The
throughout.
very end.
Yeah. Well, there were a couple things we saw through the very end was really good, but like there was a couple like things we saw that are foreboding to me and concerning.
Mhm.
There was the black crow or raven that was there with the red eyes. There was also that moth that was trapped in the spider web that was actually outside Shin's window when Frederica was talking to him, and its
Mhm.
wings were all jacked up and it was like stuck. So that's causing me concern that that something's going to happen to somebody soon. Like that's it's very foreboding, and it's very tell like this is not going to be good. Somebody's going to be is the moth her knight that's gone, like he's trapped and he can't leave from where he's at? And I was like, and then what's the crow? Is this that's kind of a sign of death there, ravens and crows and things, and usually they're associated with the soul,
Yeah.
too. So that's curious. But those things were kind of like had me concerned for like the next part that was going to happen.
So with the crow, the way I kind of see it is that we're about to get a very dreary moment. Either anyone from the gang, anyone from the Federation, or it could end up being where we get a very sketchy battle that somebody of the gang is close to either dying during the fight, or it just becomes a very rough, sketchy battle.
It's a good possibility. I'm curious of how it's gonna go. But yeah, like you said, then after our little looks, we see the moon. It cuts to the moon after we look at the raven. And if you remember, like he said, it was always that time of night when she'd call. And a lot of times they were looking at the moon, either her or Shin or both.
Yep.
And then after the credits,
ooh, the way because we know there's a lot going on her end, as well as Shin's and the gangs, because you see the flowers. It's nothing, and the thing is, the flowers we have this time are nothing of like meaning of death, or they don't really have any dreary meaning to the flowers that are there.
They didn't have a bunch of dead ones at the bottom of them, did they? I didn't.
No, there's not dead ones.
It's because remember the last
one's
time,
pink,
like,
one's yellow. They kind of look like weeds almost, but I think they're actually a type of flower, but I'm not sure. One almost looks like a dandelion, and then there's the box of the fallen allies. Then we get the map with all these notes on it, and I'm guessing the center here of this map is Sagnolia.
All the candy.
Mm-hmm.
All the candy. She's my spirit animal for that.
But before the candy, the look that she has on her face, kind of a very worrisome look.
It was very stoic. It was very serious.
But we also get the poke board or particle board. I forget what they're called. But it has the images.
Cork board.
There we go. Of her current unit. And looks like she's lost quite a few so far. But I'm guessing this is the one with Cyclops? Or is I can't really tell.
Be the unit with Cyclops.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is Cyclops' unit.
Usually she put them up in the corner, right, when they died? Is that how that worked? Or she'd have them up in the corner when they were alive?
She took them off in the box.
So the box, she had a clear box that she put the fallen ones in. But I'm looking at this image, it looks to me like she actually still has the ones that were left from a spearhead up in the top left corner. And then she has push pins creating a barrier. And then she has the other unit.
She does.
Because those images do look like...
It doesn't actually look like she's lost as many as like you would think, because I think a lot of the push pins were from the first unit. Her current unit looks very thin right now.
There's only 9 members left of it.
Yeah, and there's normally 30 if I remember correctly, or I might be quoting that wrong, but I know it's more than that.
Well, I mean, it also depends. Like I said, they're running out of soldiers too.
There is that too. Oh God. So, and then we see her. But we see her writing. What is she writing? And then we get the "Even So" title card. Even so, what?
I don't know.
It's like there's nothing to really. And plus, we haven't seen Lena in like 3 episodes, so.
Yeah. It could be very Lena heavy. I mean, it may be Lena focused next episode. I don't know. I guess we'll have to watch it. But yeah, it's so much. It's such a good teaser. It's such a good teaser.
It is,
because we have it, and we're kind of curious of like what she been up to. What is she doing?
And plus, with all these throws at Shin about, it's like or the comments that have been made, it's like, oh, that reminded me of somebody. And now with Raiden during their conversation in the hangar, it's like, all right, we're about to get a transition.
Yeah, I don't know.
There were some hints there.
I have a feeling that it won't be till later. Like I have this hard feeling that this is a slow burn.
Well,
this is a slow, painful burn.
Well, another thing that's really making me think there's about to be a transition is because of the conversation they had during the meeting. They are prepping for a large-scale attack. Now that we've seen they're prepping and reorganizing squadrons and such, and redoing the Juggernauts now, after what Shin had said to the general, we're probably now going to see the side of Lena's side in their preparation.
Which, to be frank, is going to be none on the side of San Magnolia. That's all going to be Lena.
Yeah.
Because San Magnolia don't give an F.
Because their people are totally left in the dark. Their government's lying to them. Their military, other than like Lena, is incompetent. I mean, it's pretty much, that's exactly what it is.
They're cocky, naive, lying douche canoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's it.
Not always in that order.
So, any last thoughts for this episode? I guess that's a no.
Pretty much got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with that, just a reminder, everybody, us at Convention Video will be attending DecoCon November 5th through the 7th. So, until next time, I'm Rainwolf.
This is Kirido Silverheart.
This is Asuna Silverheart.
Leave a like, comment, and maybe even subscribe.
Bye.